Banned? These countries don't want Australians. Yo, what's up, you beautiful bastards? It's your boy Taxi TV here with some seriously wild news. We're talking about countries that have straight up banned Australians from entering. I know, crazy, right? You'd think in our globalized world traveling wouldn't be such a headache, but for Aussies, certain destinations are completely off limits, and the reasons might surprise you. We're diving deep into the political drama and visa nightmares that have landed these countries on Australia's no-fly list. Buckle up, because some of these situations are straight out of a geopolitical thriller. From long-standing feuds to recent diplomatic clashes, we're breaking down the top 10 places where Australians are persona non grata. Let's get into it. Alright, kicking off our list at number 10 is probably no surprise to anyone: North Korea. This isolated nation ruled by Kim Jong-un isn't exactly known for its open-door policy. For Australians, getting into North Korea is basically impossible. Tourism is tightly controlled, and independent travel, forget about it. The official reason, let's just say tensions between North Korea and the West, especially the US and its allies like Australia, are a little frosty. Add to that Australia's stance on North Korea's nuclear program, and yeah, don't expect a warm welcome anytime soon. Coming in at number 9 is Iran. This Middle Eastern nation has a rich history and culture, but it's also been at odds with the West for decades. For Australians, getting a tourist visa for Iran isn't easy. You'll need to apply through an authorized travel agency, and even then, approval is far from guaranteed. The main roadblock: political differences and security concerns. Iran's nuclear program, its support for groups like Hezbollah, and its overall relationship with the US all play a role. It's a complicated situation, and unfortunately, it means that most Australians won't be experiencing the beauty of Iran anytime soon. At number 8, we have Syria. This one's a no-brainer, folks. Syria has been ravaged by civil war for over a decade, and the situation remains incredibly dangerous. Australia, along with many other countries, advises against all travel to Syria. There's widespread violence, terrorism is a constant threat, and essential services are practically non-existent. It's a heartbreaking situation, and until there's a peaceful resolution, Syria will sadly remain off-limits for Australians and the rest of the world. Chapter 4. Somalia, piracy and instability keep tourists away. Coming in at number 7 is Somalia. This East African nation has been plagued by instability and violence for decades. Piracy off the coast of Somalia was a major issue for years, and while it's decreased, it still poses a threat. Then there's Al-Shabaab, a terrorist group linked to Al-Qaeda, which controls large parts of the country. Add to that widespread poverty, a lack of infrastructure and ongoing political turmoil, and it's clear why Somalia is a no-go zone for Australians. Chapter 5. Yemen, humanitarian crisis makes travel impossible. At number 6, we have Yemen. This Middle Eastern country is currently facing one of the world's worst humanitarian crises. A brutal civil war has been raging since 2014, with no end in sight. Millions of Yemenis are on the brink of starvation. There's a severe lack of medical care, and infrastructure has been decimated. Australia, along with most other countries, strongly advises against all travel to Yemen. It's a truly devastating situation, and until there's a peaceful resolution, Yemen will sadly remain off-limits for Australians and the rest of the world. Chapter 6. Afghanistan, Taliban rule closes the door. Coming in at number 5 is Afghanistan. After the Taliban's takeover in 2021, the country has plunged into chaos and uncertainty. The security situation is extremely volatile, with the Taliban now in control and human rights abuses on the rise. Australia, along with many other countries, has evacuated its citizens and closed its embassy in Kabul. It's a heartbreaking situation, and until there's stability and a commitment to human rights, Afghanistan will remain a dangerous and inaccessible destination for Australians. Chapter 7. At number 4, we have the Central African Republic. This landlocked nation in Africa has been ravaged by civil war and sectarian violence for years. Armed groups control large parts of the country, and there's a constant threat of kidnappings, attacks, and human rights abuses. The Australian government strongly advises against all travel to the Central African Republic. It's a deeply troubled nation, and until there's peace and stability, it's simply too dangerous for Australians to visit. Coming in at number 3 is Libya. Since the fall of Muammar Gaddafi in 2011, Libya has been mired in political instability and violence. Rival governments, armed militias, and terrorist groups all vie for power, making the country incredibly dangerous. Kidnappings, bombings, and armed clashes are common occurrences. Australia, along with many other countries, advises against all travel to Libya. It's a volatile and unpredictable environment, and until there's a lasting peace, it's simply too risky for Australians to visit. At number 2, we have Turkmenistan. Often dubbed the North Korea of Central Asia, Turkmenistan is one of the most isolated and repressive countries in the world. It's ruled by an authoritarian government that exercises strict control over its citizens and visitors. Getting a tourist visa to Turkmenistan is notoriously difficult, and even if you do manage to get one, you'll be subject to constant surveillance. And finally, at number 1, we have a bit of a curveball: Bhutan. Now, Bhutan isn't dangerous in the same way as the other countries on this list. In fact, it's often called the happiest country in the world. But here's the catch. Bhutan has a high-value, low-impact tourism policy, which means they severely restrict the number of visitors allowed in each year. Australians, along with all other nationalities, have to book their trip through a licensed tour operator and pay a hefty daily tariff. So, while Bhutan isn't technically banned, it's definitely not an easy or affordable destination for Australians to visit. So there you have it, you beautiful bastards. The top 10 countries where Australians are not welcome in 2024. From war-torn nations to isolated regimes, these destinations are off limits for a variety of reasons. And look, I know it sucks, but when it comes to travel, safety has to come first. Always check the latest travel advisories from your government before booking any trips, and stay informed about the political and social climate of the places you want to visit. The world is a wild and unpredictable place, and it's always better to be safe than sorry. As always, stay informed, stay curious, and stay beautiful. I'm out.